morning. In today's video, I want to talk about what my biggest residency fears are and also take you throughout my day. It's currently 10 o'clock and I've really just gotten out of bed now. I usually get up around 7 o'clock, but last night I started working on something and I just wanted to get it done. So I didn't get to bed until like 3 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes when you just get on a roll, you just can't stop. Do you know what I mean? I am drinking my mud. I usually am a very heavy coffee drinker, at least like a couple cups of coffee a day. But since I'm not really on rotations anymore and I finished all my schoolwork, I'm trying to cut down, not because I think coffee is bad for me, but mostly because I don't want to have a tolerance when I start residency. I want to be able to feel the effects of a cup of coffee. So right now what I'm drinking is mud. Ryan bought it for us. It was like an ad on Instagram and he read about it and was interested, and so we're trying it. It does have some caffeine in it, but it's not coffee. I think it's made of mushrooms. I'll actually just show you what it looks like. It's in our kitchen right now. So yeah, if you've seen my prior vlogs, you'll know how much of a mess our apartment is because we're moving and everything. So this is the container. Here it lists all the different ingredients. It's kind of weird because it does taste kind of like mud, but it's actually not bad. I don't know, I definitely prefer the taste of coffee, but this mud thing is okay, and I feel like it's almost just like placebo. Having something warm in the morning to get my day started kind of feels just enough to give me energy. I'm sure once we move and once we start residency, I will be back on the coffee grind. So while I am drinking this mud and enjoying my lazy morning, I wanted to talk about my first fear of residency, and that is just not being good enough. I've always been someone who has a disposition to be really tough on myself, and I know sometimes I'm not very patient with myself and I expect to be amazing at everything immediately, and I'm really just afraid that no matter how hard I work, no matter how many hours I put in, I'm just not going to be able to keep up in this whole new job of being a physician. My goal is to work as hard as I possibly can while also maintaining good mental health, because burnout is a real thing. And really it all comes down to just being patient with myself and giving myself time to actually become good at my new job. Like I've mentioned in my vlogs before, we've been going on walks pretty often because the weather is absolutely incredible and there aren't really too many people on our walking path, so it's a pretty safe and nice walk. While we're walking, I wanted to tell you about what my next fear is. The second fear I wanted to talk about is making a bad impression. This kind of goes, you know, kind of hand in hand with my first fear about not being good enough. First impressions are so important. I am worried that I will literally know nothing when I get there, and that will make a bad impression on the attendings I work with. I'm also afraid of making a bad impression on my co-residents. I have actually Zoomed with my co-residents like 3 times already since we found out we matched at that program, and they've all been so nice, and I'm really excited to actually meet them in person and start working with them. But I'm still afraid that I could possibly make a bad impression and they won't like me. I don't know. I also have just kind of like a baseline social anxiety type thing going on. I'm very shy and it takes a long time for me to warm up to people. So I'm just kind of nervous about that, I guess. Got back from our walk, and if you've seen my previous videos about thanking my mentors and everything, then you know how amazing I think Angie Freely is over at the Yoga Pod studio in Reno, and they're actually doing virtual yoga classes, so I'm about to hop on to one of those now. The weather is amazing. I don't want to get a ton of sun exposure, but it's just so beautiful, and there's like a really pleasant, gentle breeze outside too that's perfect for doing yoga outside. So I'll probably do about half the class outside and then transfer back inside into our kitchen for the rest of class, just because I don't want to get like too toasty out there. We have this cute little patio right outside of our kitchen, so I'll probably be setting up my yoga mat right there, and then I will try to film some of it using my makeshift trash can camera stand, and hopefully you'll get to see some good yoga. Really hot outside, so I came in about after half of the class maybe, but God, gosh, those classes are just phenomenal. Seriously, now that they're virtual and you can do an Angie Reno yoga class anywhere in the world, I highly suggest you do it. And this is in no way sponsored at all. She's just like the most incredible yoga instructor. I mentioned before that she always likes to have some sort of like little lesson in her yoga classes. And today it was all about balance and finding stability. And it's really amazing because the way she teaches it is she'll walk you through the yoga class, cue you to notice when balance becomes difficult, and then she like instills a simple little statement like, maybe just realize in this moment that balance isn't static, that balance is actually constant movement, and that in itself movement is balance. She just puts those little bits of knowledge and wisdom into her yoga classes, and then at other points will be in positions like Warrior 2, and she'll cue you for very minute changes in body position. So she'll say maybe try to pull the feet together in Warrior 2, or maybe try to push them apart. Try them both, see whichever one makes you feel more stable, which is great because you're doing your own experiment in your own body and seeing what works. But then at the very end of class, she says, in these times of instability, find what makes you feel good. So just like on the yoga mat, when you're trying to figure out what exact positioning makes you feel stable and good in a yoga pose, you can do that same thing in life, where you find what things in your life make you feel good and balanced and happy. I just really love that every time I come out of one of her classes, I learn something new about myself and about the way I can live my life. Right now, it is just a little bit past 1, and because I woke up so late and we went kind of like straight for our walk and then into yoga, I haven't actually had time to eat anything today. So I'm gonna make some lunch, and while I'm doing that, I'll tell you about my fear number 3 about starting residency. For lunch today, I'm just gonna make like a bagel thin egg sandwich, which is pretty much what I have every single day around this time for my like breakfast lunch thing. I have these bagel thins, which I love because they're everything bagel flavored, and I love a lot of garlic and just with a lot of flavor. So I'll pop one of these guys in the toaster and then start cooking my egg. I just like to make eggs sunny side up. I like when they're super yolky, so I usually just like crack the egg in here and then I'll cover it with a pan cover, and that will just cook on its own, and it's so easy. But like I mentioned before, I do want to talk about my next fear that I have about residency. I feel like this fear is more warranted maybe than some of my other fears. I don't know, I think you should be validated and everyone can have whatever fears they want. For me, like the first 2 fears were kind of things that I think I can really easily get over by just really being accepting and just nicer to myself. I think I can get over those fears. But this fear, fear number 3, is the fear of harming someone, which is a totally real fear. Like I know as an intern, especially when you're first starting off, people are watching you closely because they kind of just assume that you don't know anything. But I still am anxious that, you know, something I could do might hurt someone, because I do have that responsibility now as a physician. Over time, I will get a little bit more comfortable with the amount of responsibility I have as I do things more, and I ask my upperclassmen and my attendings more and kind of just learn. I'm sure I'll get more confident. But I think at the same time, it's kind of healthy to have a little bit of fear, because that helps you to be a little bit more careful and double check your work all the time. It's kind of one of those things that is a fear right now, and I think it's kind of always gonna be in the back of my mind, and it's always something that I'll be afraid of. To an extent can be a good thing as long as it doesn't paralyze you completely from doing your job. And now I'm just gonna finish cooking my lunch, waiting for my toast to come up, and then I'll probably spread some cheese on that before I top it with my egg. So I just put a little bit of butter onto my toasted bagel. So I like to sprinkle some cheese onto the bottom side of the bagel. Then I will take my egg, pop it onto, oh my gosh, can I do this with one hand? Perfect, onto that. And then the egg kind of just melts the cheese down. I overcooked it, it'll still be good. And then I always like to add a little bit of extra garlic powder because I'm obsessed with garlic and I don't believe you can have too much of it ever. Sprinkle some garlic powder onto the egg, and that's it. So I have my delicious egg bagel sandwich. I'm just making leftovers for today for dinner, and while I'm doing this, I wanted to talk about my fear number 4 about starting residency. So first, I'll just kind of show you what I have. In this bowl, I just have some romaine lettuce that I chopped up, and then this is what I cooked. It's a mix of red bell peppers, black beans, and onion. And then to flavor it, I used different seasonings, and the most important part was actually these chipotle peppers and adobo sauce. So this is really what gave it that nice spice and flavor that I really wanted. So like I said, these are leftovers from yesterday, so I'm gonna pop these into the microwave. These are basically burrito bowls. So I also have some brown rice that I made yesterday. So I'll be heating this up as well. So that'll be kind of like the base. So I'll mix in that red bell pepper thing that's heating up right now, and I'll mix that with the rice. And then after that, I will top it with some salad. And then on the very top, I will add some of these like fire roasted diced tomatoes, and then also just some corn. And basically I made this recipe because we had a bunch of canned vegetables and rice in our house, and I'm really just trying to get rid of everything. So this was kind of one of the things I came up with. So while I'm waiting for the rice to warm up, I wanted to talk about my fear number 4, and that is losing contact with my friends and family during residency. I think I'm actually pretty bad at keeping in touch with people. It's not that I don't want to, it's just kind of like when you're so busy and focused on what's right in front of you with work or school or whatever it is, I feel like sometimes it's easier to prioritize what's in front of you, what's on your plate, not only with work, but also the new friends that you're making. So I feel like for me, even though I really love the friendships and relationships I have right now, it can be difficult to maintain those once I start a new transition, a new chapter of my life, and especially because I'll be busier than I've ever been before. So I think one of my goals to residency, in order to minimize what this fear is for me, is to kind of make a schedule of how often I want to reach out and call or text my friends and family. I've definitely had times in my life where I was really good at that. For instance, my drive to work is really long, so I'll just connect my phone to my car speaker, and then I'll be able to talk to my friends or family while I'm driving, and that's like a whole 30-minute conversation. So I really love doing that, and I think I'll continue to do that once we move and start residency, if it's like a time that makes sense. I feel like a lot of my rotations will start super early in the morning, and especially since I'll be in the Midwest and a lot of my friends and family are on the West Coast, that might be a little tough, but maybe on my drives back home, that might be a better option. So I'm really going to be proactive about keeping in touch with my family and friends, because I know I definitely struggle with trying to keep in touch with people. So the rice is now warm, my peppers are warm, so I'm going to add these peppers, black beans and onions onto the rice. And then on top of that, I will add this lettuce, and it's just romaine lettuce, and then I also have some cilantro in there. So I'll just add that to my bowls. I'll add some of these tomatoes, and finally I'll add some corn on top. And now I want to show you my beautiful product. We just finished eating our super healthy and delicious homemade burrito bowls, and now I am craving something not so healthy. We have some super ripe bananas, so I think I'm gonna make that quarantine move to make banana bread. Specifically, we are making Chrissy Teigen's banana bread, and we have made this like 5 times probably before, but... What? I'm trying to keep it a secret, but I think it's too sweet, and Ryan doesn't think it's too sweet. So I'm gonna add less sugar this time and see if he notices. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and make that banana bread. I have all the ingredients out already because I've realized that it's really hard to figure out recipes while also like telling a story. So I already have everything out, and I will link Chrissy Teigen's banana bread below. Like I mentioned, I am making some modifications to make it a little less sweet. Oh my gosh, he's staring at me. You know something's up. But I'll still link that down below, and I will type out also the edits that I made. So let me show you what we got going on here. Classic banana bread ingredients. She does add coconut flakes, which I think really elevates it. And then I always have to add some chocolate chips because I'm a chocolate fiend and I need that in my life. As I'm assembling my banana bread, I am going to be talking to you guys about what my last and final fear is about residency, and then kind of just put it all together, I think, and just kind of reflect a little bit about what I'm anxious about and what I'm a little bit afraid of. I'm gonna start by mashing some bananas. The last fear that I wanted to talk about is probably something that's pretty evident, right now. And it's probably something that you are probably surprised I didn't mention earlier. My last fear that I want to talk about is actually starting residency during this pandemic. I honestly am already anxious just going to the grocery store, and that's literally the only time I'm ever out in public. So the fact that I'm actually going to be in a hospital with COVID positive patients who are very sick, I don't know, I feel like if I'm already nervous just going to the grocery store, I'm going to be nervous when I'm actually in the hospital, and I may or may not even have COVID patients, who knows. I also mentioned in this video that I wanted to talk about my schedule because I got my schedule a few weeks ago and I haven't talked about it here at all yet, and I wanted to kind of debrief on what I think of my schedule. And the reason I felt that it was so fitting to mention now is because I'm actually starting my intern year in the ICU. I don't really know what to expect, and there may or may not be COVID patients there. I know a lot of hospitals have COVID specific hospital floors or ICUs, but I honestly am not really familiar with how they're doing it at my residency program hospital. I mean, the fact that it's a pandemic right now is already scary, going into my first job as an actual doctor, but the fact that I also happen to start in the ICU just makes me that little extra nervous. I just feel like I should almost get it into my head that I will probably end up getting sick at some point. I mean, whether it's coronavirus or something else, I'll definitely get sick, I'm sure, at some point. Scary time to be going through a big life change like this. I know a lot of physicians have talked about how the possibility of getting sick is part of the job that comes with medicine, which is definitely true. I mean, you are exposed to more illnesses than other people in the world, but I think there's also that very real fear of expecting that there'll be enough PPE and then coming to terms with the reality that there is a shortage. I know in some cities, the shortage of PPE is way more prominent than in other cities. And I know there's a lot of media coverage pretty much everywhere in the US about what's going on, but I really truly feel like I won't totally understand the situation until I'm in the middle of it myself. I know that, it's kind of a waste of time and energy for me to be worrying about these things right now, but I'm not gonna lie, these are definitely things I keep thinking about. Like, I'm trying to spend as much time as possible just having fun and enjoying life before I have a ton more responsibility and real hours that I have to show up for and people's lives in my hands. But it's hard to just not think about all the stuff that's coming up for us. So now you know what my first rotation is of my intern year, and you also know what my 5 biggest fears are for starting residency. I think a lot of these fears and anxieties are common things. I think it's very normal for people to worry about harming others as their first physician job. Some of my other fears, like there's fears of first impressions, and then the fears of me not being able to keep up or not being good enough. I think those fears, a lot of the time for me, are very unrealistic. I'm just really hard on myself. I think over time, I'll just work on my confidence and in believing myself that I can really do this. If you're currently in MS4, I would love to hear what your fears are. If you're having the same thoughts as I am, maybe we can talk a little bit about what we're experiencing right now, not only about to start intern year, but also during this crazy pandemic. Overall, even though I'm nervous about those things that I kind of focused on in this video, I really am more excited than nervous. I mean, I've been working for this moment my basically entire life. That first day of my intern year, I'm really gonna feel like, I don't know, I don't think like I'll feel like I made it, but I don't know, I kind of will, because you finally have responsibility of your patients. You can sign orders, you can write notes, and people actually read them. I don't know, I think while the responsibility is definitely something that's scary, I think it's also something that's exciting, and I'm excited to have more responsibility. I'm excited to be the one that can help make changes in people's lives for the better. I guess regardless of all of the fears and anxieties, I cannot wait to start next month. Because I focus so much on what my anxieties are, this video, I really wanted to make an entirely different video, just talking about what I'm excited for. So the next video that I upload will be talking about what my goals are for residency. All right, just finished making this banana bread mix. Looks good. And now I am going to get it in my pan, spray it down a little bit first. And I did not start the oven early enough, so it's not preheated yet, but it's almost ready to go, I think. So as soon as that thing beeps, I will put this banana bread in, and I think it takes like a while to cook. As soon as the oven is preheated, I'm gonna pop this baby in. The timer just went off for our bread. There it goes again. It doesn't stop unless you manually turn it off, which is really annoying, but let's see how it looks. Ooh, it's looking a little bit dark, but let's see how it goes. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. I'm just gonna let it rest out of the oven for a little bit before I cut into it and have a nice big piece. It's smelling so freaking good. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It looks and smells so good. Okay, moment of truth. I'm going to cut a couple pieces. Very difficult to do one-handed. Don't recommend. These are fat pieces and I'm not mad about it. Ooh. Definitely burned it a little bit, but it still tastes amazing. But the real test is if Ryan likes it. So, Ryan, can you please eat some of this banana bread?
Needs more sugar.
You heard me! Yes, you did.
It's not that sweet.
You're insane. I think it's amazing banana bread, and I'm gonna go put this away and then enjoy that. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe because next Wednesday, I'll be uploading a video about my goals to residency.